Welcome to Dead Man Talking. Tonight's story is a very chilling and interesting experience from the wonderful mind of PostMortem33. As ever, please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help build the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag Team Fear. And so, with that aside, let's get into tonight's story, entitled I'm a Freemason and I have some stories to tell you. Let's get straight into that. Why would a man break the oath he had took when he became a Freemason, you might ask? Well, things have gotten pretty scary before the lockdown, and I need to leave my testimonies somewhere for the world to know what is really happening. I am sure that you, reader, have heard of a lot of conspiracies about the Freemasons, how they rule the world, and this one is true, actually. Or how they have clear proof of the existence of extraterrestrial life, or how they sacrifice goats in darkened light of their temples for the one they worship blindly, and the one that I like the most is when they run naked in the forests as part of some deluded rituals. Most of these are, of course, false claims thrown by the media in our faces just so that we can stay occupied with their imbecile discussions. However, what I have to tell you is much worse. I have seen and heard things unimaginable, and in some cases unbearable for the human mind. I will not get into Masonic history, how and why it appeared, what was its initial purpose, and all those other things, because you can find that online, although some of it has been a little altered just to make them look good. I will start my story with the initiation ritual. I will not tell everything about it. If someone has a question, you can send me a DM and I will gladly answer. What happened before and after that, how I was accepted, and the sheer terror that I went through in my first visit at the temple. I will not tell you where I am from, because I can easily be found if I tell which Masonic lodge I am part of and from what country, although I am located in the southeastern central part of Europe. For the time being, I will tell you about the start of my journey, and if there are people here who are interested in hearing more, I will tell you more. For example, the story of when I ran across a rather odd version of the Bible and the crucifixion of Jesus, or the real story of the 27 Club, the actual ritual you have to perform when you want to have money, fame and talent in music, but you have to give a certain something in return to a certain someone. Or I can tell you about the moment when I was really scared when a special guest was invited into our lodge to give a Masonic lecture about, well, I will tell you some other time. And the main reason I got into Freemasonry was because one of my teachers at the Academy of Sciences I currently do research in is a Freemason, and he took a liking in me and asked me after 2 years of gaining each other's trust if I would like to be a part of the organization who has the sole purpose of bettering the world and the individual. You must excuse if some of this text sounds wrong, because English is not my main language, but I will try my best to feed your curiosities with the proper using of this beautiful language. I then asked him if this is an NGO or a research group, so that I know whom I am speaking to and what my conduct and behaviour should be when I went there. He said directly, "No, son, this is a Masonic lodge that I'm talking about. You will learn new things that not everyone can learn or know, because they must remain hidden to prying eyes. We are looking to bring in a few bright young people, such as yourself, because we are beginning to grow old and weary, and we cannot do our duties properly. I mean, son, look at me. I'm 92 years old. I could die tomorrow. I need someone to take my place, and who can that someone be other than my best student in this whole academy?" "Professor, thank you for the kind words, and I have to say that you have my full attention, and my curiosity is really big in this moment. But at the same time, I have heard throughout my life all these crazy stories about the Freemasons, so I don't know what to say. I'm sure you heard about the fact that we are Satanists, or that we can talk to the devil. Am I right? Or maybe we can talk to the dead as well. Imagine if I could to Einstein right now, or to Marie Curie, Nikola Tesla, or Tartini, Beethoven, and all the greats of classical music. That would be wonderful, but it is impossible. Do I look like a Satanist to you? Do I look like a bad person, or do I sound crazy when I speak? Do I pretend that I know the secrets of alchemy? No, son. I am just a normal person, a man of science who happens to believe in God as well. I am very well known in my field and very respected, but that is because of a 70+ years of hard work and dedication that I have put in. What do you say, son? Do you want to find extraordinary knowledge? I pondered for a bit and then exclaimed, "All right, Professor, I accept your invitation for mainly 2 reasons. First one being that I have a lot of admiration and respect for you, and I really am humbled by the fact that you see me as your successor. And the other one is that I always try to improve myself and learn new things. And son, you just made a life-changing decision. Someone will call you next week to ask for your personal details, and they will tell you everything about the meeting." "Very good, Professor. I'll see you next week." I went home without very much thinking about this and just went on to my normal stuff, reading and writing articles, publishing a few of them, finishing some work, and the usual thing. The following week came and I was called by a gentleman. We met for a discussion, and he told me to be in a certain place at exactly 3:33 p.m. the next day, no earlier or later than that. This was in 2015. I went there. I was greeted by my teacher. He took me upstairs in a tiled room, where he placed a black cloth over my eyes, and then he took me to a dimly lighted small room, also known as the Chamber of Reflection, where I stayed for an hour. However, this was not a normal chamber of reflection, nor did I reflect too much. It was only later that I found out that this lodge was one of the special lodges only known by the elite of Freemasonry in the Grand Lodge of the country. In my country there are only such lodges with 9 members each. As I was sitting on the chair in the chamber of reflection, a small figure erected from a dark corner of the room. The upper body was that of a really ugly man, and with a very large beard, black eyes, a pointy nose and ears, and very yellow teeth. And what startled me was that he was standing on 2 legs that looked like they were his, and not his at the same time, because they were goat legs. My quick judgment said it was just a costume for the theatrics of the initiation, and so I went along with it. He asked me the following 3 questions, written on a piece of very old paper, for which I had to answer yes in order to go on with the ritual. Number 1. Do you believe in the one and only true great architect of the universe? Number 2. Do you wish to receive his knowledge through our ancient ways? And number 3. Do you swear to serve the Freemasons for your whole life from here on out? Then he produced a small needle, punctured one of my fingers with it, and asked me to sign that piece of paper with my finger on what was a representation of the eye of Providence drawn under those questions. I signed it. The little man exited the room, and 5 minutes later my teacher came and took me to the next part of the initiation. I entered the temple, again blindfolded. I did some not-so-cool things, like breaking stone with a hammer, drinking some sweet and sour liquids. I was half naked in my upper left part of the body, with the chest and shoulder showing. Next, I feel something really cold. It was the tip of something metallic. I figured again that it was part of the ritual. Maybe a sword, I thought. All right, I said. I love theatrics. But then something really scary happened. The master of the lodge recited the following. O he with many names, accept your newest humble servant in our brotherhood. Our master, who art fiery light and who is free in spirit, accept this new apprentice within our ranks. Apprentice, say this 3 times with all of us. Hal Jabbar, on. Hal Jabbar, on. Hal Jabbar, on. You are now reborn, apprentice. Forever through the square encompasses our 3 eternal lights. At this point, my heart was pounding, and then they took the blindfold off, and what I saw was that everyone's swords were raised, making a circle around me and just a small opening. And then it happened. Out of the corner, someone came towards me running through that opening, enraged and ready to attack me. It was clearly a gimmick, as the person was dressed like a goat with long horns. It stopped right in front of me, saw me shaking in fear, and a deep voice came from behind the mask saying, Solve et coagula, lux et tenebrae. Everyone chanted again, and I chanted with them. And then the figure went back to the corner, and everyone started clapping, and they started to shake my hand, one by one, greeting me. Welcome, brother. Oh, brother, you were really scared. Don't worry, this is all part of the initiation. Welcome, brother. My teacher told me afterwards that all these experiences I had here represent both good and evil parts of life, and I was reborn anew, a better person, a Freemason, and my journey is only starting. You will see the wonders of the world, son. I'm a Freemason, and I have some stories to tell you. The Pripyat Grand Lodge Visit, Part 2. Let's get straight into that. Since some of you enjoyed the first entry in this series and were eager to see new material come to life, I decided to tell you the story about my Chernobyl visit, which took place exactly 4 years ago, on the day the disaster turned exactly 30 years old. Before I start, I must tell you that this was an accident. It was not provoked by anyone, 100%. I have seen authentic documents provided by high-grade military intelligence officers in Ukraine, and they did try to cover it up, like the Soviets did back in the day. Nothing in the state's fault, and all that stuff. But when Gorbachev realized that he could not contain the disaster, he and the party decided to let the news out. You all know the story. And some of you probably read the Nobel Prize award-winning book, Voices from Chernobyl, by the Belarusian author, Svetlana Alexievich, or even saw the great series that aired on the TV, although some gruesome details were not included in the show, and so I will not go into the actual disaster story. However, I would like for everyone to hold a moment of silence for all of the brave men and women who lost their lives in that disaster, all the medical staff, the firefighters and the scientists who were capable to contain the disaster on the 4th of May, 1986. Today marks 34 years since that disaster, and let us never forget. So, let me get started with today's story. I will get back to my initiation ritual and what happened after I was made apprentice at a later stage of these stories. I will not tell them in chronological order because I want you, reader, to be surprised every single time I tell you about my experiences as a Freemason. Back in 2016, the lodge that I am still a part of received an invitation to join the meeting of our brothers in Ukraine, most specifically the Pripyat Grand Lodge, which was to be held exactly on April 26, 2016. Of course, the master and the rest of us were a bit confused because we have never been to that part of Ukraine before, and we were a bit scared because we might get irradiated, might get sick, might get eaten by mutants and things like that. After our usual meeting at the temple, the master called his counterpart in Ukraine to see exactly what this was about. Suffice to say that we all agreed to go because we did not felt only obliged, but it was a sign of respect not to refuse the invitation. About a week later, we had 3 cars come pick us up at the temple, and with the trip being just over 17 hours, we stopped and slept the night at one of our brothers' hotel in Moldova, and the next day we were near the city of Pripyat, where we were greeted by our brothers with handshakes and a triple fraternal accolades. We got acquainted and they actually prepared a tour for us to visit the surroundings of Chernobyl, where we saw Reactor 4 and the Duga-1. And then we went on to have a typical Soviet lunch like they used to have when the USSR was still a thing. Then we went to visit the ghost town and we stopped nearby the Red Forest. And we were all equipped with dosimeters and hazmat suits, of course. While we were near in the Red Forest, our Ukrainian brothers told us that we will go somewhere to have our meeting, and then we will go to sleep in a secret hotel that only the Masons know about. After this, military personnel pulled in front of us and escorted us to an underground bunker near the Red Forest. And we descended to a 3rd floor of the facility where we had the meeting. Our master had a speech and vice versa. After the meeting ended, we went on having a normal brotherly banquet. However, this is where things started getting strange. The food was nothing like I'd ever seen before. The wine had multiple colours at the same time, and there were some sautéed mushrooms that were a phosphorescent green, similar to hygroscybe virescens. The meats were very tasty even though they looked really overcooked. On the inside they were very tender. The potatoes were turquoise and the fish were a very pale pink with crimson tails. And me? I was sitting over there thinking, is this real food or are they joking? Are we supposed to eat the damn rainbow in here? But the most interesting thing was the tea that they served at the end. The hot tea was smelling like hot summer mornings, then changing to the smell of petrichor, then to the freezing smell of snow. It was like all seasons were trapped in that cup of tea. We were of course a little bit scared to eat the food, but our brothers told us there is nothing to be worried about, as this is some ultra rare foods. Only 333 people in the world know of its existence. And after we finished, the master of the Pripyat Lodge raised his glass. "Drink this final glass of wine, my brothers, and let me lead you to see the greatest secret of Chernobyl. You will now meet Vov Kulaka." Then we went to the 5th floor where there was just a cage. Inside it there was a man. "Help me, please. They've got me trapped in here." Of course, I was absolutely outraged and I whispered to my professor, "What is this nonsense, Professor? Why did they torment a man like that?" And even though I whispered, the master heard me and said, "You know I speak your language, right? I know how this looks like, but I can assure you that shortly something will change the way you see this man. It will happen." Then he started chanting some Latin phrases and threw some liquid on the man, and then claws started growing out of the tips of his fingers, hair growing everywhere. His clothes were slowly tearing apart. The man seemed to be turning into something else, something not of this world, something unholy, evil, and unnatural. Soon razor-like teeth started erecting from his mouth. His eyes turned a dark shade of crimson red. His metamorphosis was complete, and the man was no longer a man, but a huge, monstrous type of wolf. "Mortals, one day I will escape this prison, and I will kill you all. Mark my words. You had me confined for the last 400 years, since that day where I tore apart your lands. I will escape someday. I will end this world in blood and fire." I was absolutely petrified. I stood still for the next 10 minutes or so. My teacher was as calm as they come, meaning that this was something usual for him, and I was left wondering how many horrors are in this world, what things exist here, what darkness lives on this earth with us. The master took out another liquid, threw it onto the creature, and it started shrieking, letting out sounds not of this world. After that, it turned to the man again, and we left. I'm still in shock, I asked, almost crying. "What was that? Why don't you just kill it?" The master, looking disapprovingly at me, said that this was an 850-year-old werewolf, and since his capture, the Masons have been trying relentlessly to alter his mind using certain substances, which I know nothing about, and make more creatures like this, eventually turning them into armies for future wars. Yes, I know that we have all of this technology now, and we could make robots and whatnot, but these guys, they have a lot of secrets. If they have kept him for so long, it must have been a very valuable thing to them. Maybe immortality, who knows? After this we, sort of fainted and then woke up the next morning in a hotel which did not look like a hotel, but like an apartment building that felt like it was constantly moving. And no, I wasn't hungover. On the table in my room, I found a note saying that they wish us a great trip back home, thanking us for accepting the invitation and hoping that we can meet again sooner rather than later. Also, there was a bottle of that tea wrapped as a present, and to this day, I never opened it. Until next time, stay safe and take care, reader. Wow. Love that. Really interesting and taking things from a totally different angle and perspective. A huge thank you to the author, PostMortem33, for allowing me to narrate this wonderful piece. I look forward to the updates soon, I'm sure as much as the listeners do. As ever, guys and girls, you know the drill. Please do let us know what you thought down below in the comments box. Please do like and share. It really does help with the channel and our community further. And why not hashtag Team Fear. Remember, if you have a story you'd like to share with us here on the show, whether it's fictional or true, please do get it over to myself on my email, which is dmtforestofear@gmail.com. With regards to the notification bell settings, a lot of the time it seems that YouTube seems to just either desubscribe people or totally change up their settings without any indication or notice. I've had some of my favourite channels be unsubscribed for no reason. So I have to keep checking back and resubscribing, which is a pain in the butt, and I can only guess that it rolls across the whole service in regards to notifications and stuff. But alas, we will keep persevering, and I will keep the content coming. Above all, guys, as ever, I hope you're all well and happy. And remember, be safe, not sorry.